this as a combination between the answers, and I'm going to do a couple with you. There's, I think, 8 questions on the test. You guys are like, what? Only 8? There's different parts. Like for the co-terminals, you have to have 2. For converting, there's all sorts of different things. So I want you guys to be aware that a lot of you made mistakes. Okay, where did you make mistakes on your quiz? First of all, it's because there's a picture in a picture. Yeah, I know. First of all, guys, you have to know these things. You have a calculator tomorrow, but everything needs to be in exact values. So if you tell me the square root of 3 is some weird decimal, I'm going to mark it wrong. You have to keep it in radicals. If you don't know how to do that on your calculator, then you're going to have to do it in your head. But what you guys need to understand is to convert from radians to degrees or degrees to radians. You have to use pi over 180 or 180 over pi. That will definitely be on there. Guys, if your question starts off in radians, your answer should be in radians. Don't convert it and then not convert it back. You're going to get it wrong. Where a lot of you made mistakes with the coterminal and the complement supplement. When you are finding the complement or supplement, whether it's degrees or radians, the 90 and the 180 has to come first. Some of you said like 72 minus 90. Oh, there isn't one. It has to be 90 minus for complement, or pi over 2 minus. For supplement, it has to be 180 minus or pi minus. When you're adding, the order doesn't matter, but when you're subtracting, it does. Opposite for coterminal, it has to be the angle plus 360 or the angle minus 360, or if it's in radians, 2 pi. A lot of you gave me, like, say you had an angle of 170 degrees. And I asked for 2 coterminals, 1 positive, 1 negative. If I say 170 plus 360, or I say 360 plus 170, I'm going to get the same answer, correct? Okay. But subtracting matters. You have to say 170 minus 1 whole circle. Not 1 whole circle minus 170. You're not going to be in the same spot. So it's very important when you're finding coterminals that the angle goes first. It's the angle plus 2 pi, the angle minus 2 pi. If you want to convert everything to degrees, figure it out, then convert it back, fine. It doesn't matter. As long as whatever you start with in the question, you need to have in your answer. Do everybody understand that? Okay. So you're going to have questions like this, where you're given a triangle. All right, you're going to be given a triangle, and you're going to need to find one of the sides. If you are given the triangle and theta, guys, figure out what theta is, where it is, and then tell yourself, from here, what is 7? Opposite. What is square root of 5? The adjacent. And what is this one? The hypotenuse. Okay, then you use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b are the legs, c is the hypotenuse. All right, where are we going to make mistakes? If you have the value 2 square root of 3 and you have to square it. A lot of you don't know how to do that. Where does that 2 go? To both. It goes here. So 2 squared times here times 3. So this is actually 4 times 3, which is 12. All right, where you're going to make mistakes is the algebra. It's not going to be in the pre-calc part of it. It's going to just be the algebra stuff. You're also going to have a question. Boys, please stop talking for a few minutes. You're also going to have a question like this, where you're not given a triangle. You're given a trig ratio. First of all, we need to know the trig ratio. Do this one. This one's a better one to do. Let's write down our trig ratios in terms of x, y, and r. I have sine is what? Sine is what over what? Y over r. Cosine is x over r. Tangent is y over x. So my cosecant is r over y. My secant is r over x. My cotangent is x over y. You guys have to know that. Whenever you have one of these trig functions, doesn't matter, that says cotangent of alpha. It doesn't matter what the Greek letter is. But
can I use the circle method too? Like sine is equal to opposite of the hypotenuse?
Yeah. But you're going to need to know these trig ratios going forward because you're not going to be able to use opposite and hypotenuse. So I'm just trying to transition you there. But guys, if you look at this, what are you given if you're given the cotangent?
X and Y.
X over what? Y. So what are you finding? Because in order to solve this, once you guys find the X, Y, and the R, this is really easy. X and Y. Think about X and Y on a right triangle. The X is the left and right. The Y is the up and down. What is the R? The hypotenuse, the C. You're still using the Pythagorean theorem. Instead of a squared plus b squared equals c squared, you're just saying x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Same thing, just different letters. So when I look at this, I say my x value is 2 square roots of 5. My y value is 3. How do I find r? X squared plus y squared equals r squared. So I have 2 square roots of 5 squared plus 3 squared equals r squared. This is where you guys are going to make mistakes. You can't do this in your calculator and get a decimal equivalent. I mean, you can, but it's going to be marked wrong. It's going to say keep the exact value. So think about this. This 2 goes here and here. So this is 2 squared times 5 plus 9 equals r squared. What's 2 squared? 4. 4 times 5 is, so 29 equals r squared. So what's your r value? The square root of 29. Now that you have all this, guys, you just throw it into your trig ratios. What would be the problem, like for my sign? I have 3 over the square root of 29. Can I leave it like that? No, you got to rationalize. Square root of 29 over square root of 29. So 3 square root of 29 over 29. That's the stuff that's going to trip you up. Not the you guys know the trig and all that. It's, I don't know how to break down a radical and stuff like that. You always have to simplify. Yes, sir?
Can you do the cosine order?
Sure. Cosine would be x over r, right? So your x value, 2 square root of 5 over your r is the square root of 29. Okay, this is a good one. Now again, remember you have a calculator, right? Right? Okay, so I have to rationalize. I cannot have that radical there. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by the square root of 29. So 2 stays on the outside. A house times a house just becomes a bigger house. What's 29 times 5? So that's okay. 145 over 29. So now we would look on anything on the outside. Does this simplify? No. If it was 2 over 30, then yes, you would simplify it to 1 over 15, something like that. Very basic, guys. It's very, very basic, very straightforward, but you're going to have to be careful with your work. Okay, I crossed this out because we didn't do this. We're going to move on. Chris, stop. But we are going to have 2 word problems. But think about, guys, your word problems. I'm not answering questions during the test. The whole part of this is that you guys understand where stuff goes. Once you get the triangle set up, I know you can handle that, but it's where stuff goes. I have on Canvas, there's an assignment that has word problems, has the solutions, and has me working them out on video. Watch that. Listen to the words that kind of will give you hints on where things go. But since we're talking about a right triangle, what should we draw? A right triangle, okay? Very good. Always draw a right triangle. Doesn't matter which direction you draw it, just draw the right triangle. So it says a ladder is laying against the side of a 3-story house. Which piece would be the ladder laying against the house? The hypotenuse, right here. You guys have a ladder that's laying, here we go. How tall is the house? 3 stories, okay? It says a roofer measures the angle of depression. Well, remember, the angle of depression is outside the triangle. It's out here. Whenever they gave you the angle of depression on the outside, that's also giving you the angle of elevation where? Inside. So I can put my 58 degrees right down here. Every single time you get an angle of elevation or depression, you can put it there. Because when they tell you the angle of depression, they're measuring it from outside. So you can just go ahead and put it down there on the inside. So I keep reading. A roofer measures the angle. Okay, great. The base of the ladder. Where is the base of a ladder? Down here. And where's the base of the house? Over here. Draw a line from star to star. How long is that?
65.
How do you know it says 65 feet? Because it's, there you go. So you know 65 feet goes here. So now let's read the rest of the question. How long is the ladder? Am I looking for how tall the house is or how long the ladder is? This is the piece I'm looking for. That is the hard part of this question. Once you guys do that, then it's easy. You have to know what those words mean, like a ladder, a ramp, those sorts of things. Those are all the hypotenuse. How tall something is, how high something is off the ground. That's the height, the up and down. How far away this is from the base of something. That's the left and right. So you just got to know. So now based upon this picture, there's my theta, 58 degrees. What is 65? 65 is the adjacent. What is x? The hypotenuse. What trig function uses adjacent and hypotenuse? TOA. Cosine. That one. Yeah. So cosine 58 equals 65 over x. You have created a proportion, and now how do we solve this? No, it's not 65 over. But yeah, it is. We're going to multiply. We can cross multiply. So 65 equals x times the cosine of 58. Cosine of 58 is just a number in your calculator. But I want x by itself, so what do? So in your calculators, if you guys want me to check your calculator before you start so you're in the right mode, I can. But you're talking about a ladder that's going to the top of a 3-story house. Your answer should not be negative, and it also shouldn't be like 4. In your calculator, with 65 divided by cosine 58. 122.6, so like about 7. Read the directions, whatever it says to round to. If it says to round to 2 decimals, then round to 2. If it says round to 1, round to 1. But what else should I have here? It's 122.7 feet. You need your unit. Your word problems need units.
So we get it wrong if we didn't put the...
Not wrong, but you get a point or two off. Okay, let's look at the next one. We'll do the next 2, and then I'll go over quizzes if you want. Right triangle trigs. What should I draw? A right triangle, okay. You're driving on a flat road, and you spot a mountain 28 miles away. Okay, so here's my car. It's a real fancy car. Here's me in the car. I'm looking. I'm driving. And here's this big, tall mountain. So what is 28 miles? The what, Coy?
The car from the...
The car from the base. Good, guys. You're driving on a flat road. Did they say you were driving up a steep incline? No. If they set up a steep incline, then that would be the hypotenuse. So you keep reading. It says the angle of elevation from the car to the top of the mountain is 54 degrees. Where do I put that? The angle of elevation. Where's the angle go? Near the bottom corner. Always in the bottom corner. And then it says, how tall is the mountain? What do I want? The up and down or the hypotenuse? The up and down. How tall is the mountain? From the ground up, how tall is it? So here's my theta. What is x and what is 28?
Opposite adjacent?
X is opposite. Perfect. 28 is the adjacent.
No. Tangent.
Write down SOHCAHTOA on the top of your paper. What uses O and A? TOA. So tangent of 54, birthday girl, is opposite x over 28. And now we solve this the same way we did the last one. We cross multiply. 1 times x is x. And then I have 28 times the tangent of 54. What is that in your calculator? So x equals 38.53. Now, since this started off with miles, this is measured in miles. I'm not making you convert it. So I know that doesn't make a lot of sense that the mountain is 38 miles tall. It's a big one. It's the biggest one in the world. I just made it up.
So we wouldn't have to convert it? Okay.
No. All right, this last one. I am tapping into your childhood that some of you have missed out on. How many of you have flown a kite? Okay, good. Last period that I asked it, there was one. I was like, oh, Lord, we need to go fly a kite. Okay, so let's think about it. If you've never flown a kite, hopefully you've seen it happen. When you fly a kite, everybody look at me. When you hold the string, does it just stay right above your head, or does the kite like fly out like that?
Wow.
So think about, on a right triangle, what is that, like, that piece that is like laying kind of sideways or whatever? It's the hypotenuse, okay? So think about this. It says Lauren is flying a kite on a windy day at the beach. Okay, do you have it in your mind, this beautiful windy day at the beach? The length of the kite's string is 85 feet. What are they telling you? Think about a kite. You're flying a kite and you're looking at the string. What are they telling you is 85 feet? The hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is 85 feet. And then it says that the angle of elevation that the kite string makes with the ground is 34.9. Where do I put that? Bottom corner, 34.9 degrees. How high off the ground is the kite? Here is the ground. And here is the kite. What are they looking for? The height, the up and down, that piece. So in regards to 34, what is x and what is 85? X is the opposite, and this is the hypotenuse. Nobody say a word. Look at you. You are ready. What trig function uses opposite and hypotenuse? That would be sine. So sine of 34.9 equals opposite, which is x, over 85. Again, we have a proportion. How do we solve proportions? Yep. X equals 85 times the sine of 34.9. What do you get? How much?
48.6.
So 48.6 feet. Okay, perfect. Does that make sense? Yes. If you came out with 3, well, I guess sometimes kite flying is hard, but usually they're up in the air off the ground. Usually. All right, so guys, please bring your calculators tomorrow. Very important that we have our calculator. And that's it. You'll be fine.